Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this collecting journey. My goal is to provide you with high quality reviews without all the extra fluff. I also like my videos to be a catalog of collecting, something that we can look back on in the future. So if you end up enjoying this video and you learn something new, be sure to like and subscribe. It's free and it helps out the channel. Get your tauntauns ready because we are visiting the planet of Hoth. This is Luke Skywalker's Snowspeeder, Series 2 of Micro Galaxy Squadron. This was sent over in a big box of goodies by the team at Jazwares. This is number 38 in our Micro Galaxy Squadron line. On the side of the packaging, you can see some more Snowspeeders, giving a great illustration that we are on Hoth. The back of the packaging shows some illustrations of the ship's designs. It looks like it does have a tow cable. That was one of my biggest questions and wants, so I'm excited to look at that. It has the collectible cutout blueprint card. This is a part of the Starfighter class, which the rest of these ships are also associated with. I have already reviewed Ahsoka's chase vehicle, which is 1 out of 15,000, so be sure to check that one out if you haven't already. This is the first of the Starfighter class to come with 2 human figures, so we have Luke and then Dak Ralter. Rest in peace. These have been popping in and out of stock on Amazon, and I believe they're running for the $16.99 price point. I will have the links in the description below. These should eventually be hitting Target and Walmart, so here is the barcode to help you track this down in store. Here is our Snowspeeder out of the packaging, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. There's a few features that weren't shown on the packaging, so we'll go over all those details. But overall, I think the sculpt looks really good. You can see there's the tow cable in the back. The paint applications look really good. They seem pretty accurate, honestly. You can see deep within these grooves, there's some nice weathering, and it doesn't look heavily applied or anything like that, so that's really nice. It actually gives a great contrast to the ship. Here's a higher view so you can get a better idea of what this ship looks like. You can see there's some cool red trim paint applications there, the grays. Now on the back of the packaging it shows one of the features being a switch back here, which we can move from side to side, and that will operate these drag fins there. There's also a turret which will swivel from side to side, and then we have the tow cable. And then not shown is actually a stand, so that'll fold into the ship nice and flush. Here's a better look at our figures, and I just can't get over this sculpting on them. I mean, it's fantastic, just how much details they can pack in these little figures. There isn't a whole lot of bleed on these. I mean, maybe a little bit here by the torso, but other than that, I think they look really good. The blues and the reds on the helmets look awesome. The visors look really good, and the pale whites from their faces look really good as well. As we look to the back of the figures, you can see that we have the same treatments, not a whole lot of bleed or anything like that, so very happy that they didn't skimp out on one side of the figures. Articulation should be no surprise at this point. Legs are basically at a 90 degrees, and you can actually spin the arms all the way around. Let's check some measurements of this speeder. So I have the landing gear up, and we are looking height-wise 1 1/8. Width-wise, we are looking at about 3 1/4. And then length-wise, from tip of the blaster, we are about, I would say, 3 3/4. I think this sculpt looks awesome. I don't really see any discrepancies from the film, so I'm really happy about that. And again, I just can't get over how deep that weathering is right there. I mean, that looks really good. Now, as I'm moving this ship, you can see that these drag fins are kind of opening up. So those are activated by a switch right here. So if I take that switch and move it to the right, the ship's right, you're going to see it open up there, and then same thing on the left. So that's an awesome little feature. I mean, we see that within the film, but it's really cool to have this in such a small scale. And then again, you don't really need the switch to activate them. You can just let gravity do its thing. So if you wanted to maybe display it a certain way, you can, have one of the fins out. I mean, obviously this switch will help with that, but that's cool. They're not dependent on just the switch alone. Let's take a look at this cockpit. The hatch is on a hinge joint. We have some sculpting on the inside, which is great. I'm really impressed with that. I'm glad they didn't leave it just like flat and flush, so that's pretty cool. And there's even an indication as like this was a seat, so that's cool, the little lines that separate that. And then we have a little peg in the center that will separate the legs, and that's awesome. It looks really good. So I went ahead and placed both figures inside. I had no issues sticking them in there. And yeah, they look really good. Enough room. They don't seem super cramped or anything like that. You can see there's also some sculpting there for like some buttons and knobs. So let's see how much head clearance they have. Yeah, they got plenty of headroom. They look good, man. That's awesome. You can see Luke sticking out right there. And this glass is like a smoked gray type of look. That leads us into the rear turret, so there's a pin inside of the ship, and that will give us articulation almost 360 degrees, so that looks awesome. I'm glad they didn't just make it stationary. Very nice touch. There's also some weathering and just little sculpting to it as well. As we look to the rear of the ship, you can see the rest of the sculpting that it has, and it's just awesome, like these little hydraulics right there, and I'm glad that they sculpted this switch to be a part of like these vents there, so I mean it really blends in well with the ship. And finally, we have that tow cable. You can see there is a hook there, and it does come out, so there's a decent amount of length to it. There's unfortunately not enough line to take down an entire walker, but I can't really see them stuffing that much line in this little ship, but I'm just grateful that we have this anyways. I mean, we can still tow a speeder behind us if we wanted to, so there is some good functionality to this. So let's see how much line is actually in this. So I'm going to extend it out as much as possible, and we're looking at about, man, 4.5 inches, which isn't bad. I mean, honestly, we would love to have an amount that could take down an entire walker, but I can't see them stuffing that much line in this little of a ship, but I'm just grateful we have a tow cable that works. So now to reset the cable, it's pretty simple. Leads us to the bottom of the ship. There is a wheel right here. You're going to roll the wheel towards the ship. So as we keep doing this, we'll eventually get it smaller and smaller, and that will just reset it back to its normal position, just like so. So I do like that they used a wheel mechanic instead of a like spring-loaded type of thing. For one, springs can tend to fail over time. This just seems like it's wrapping around a wheel within the ship. So you can actually pull it out maybe that far if you wanted to, or maybe just a little bit further. And if you wanted to create a scene, you know, you can do so at whatever your desired length is that the ship has for this tow cable. So I like that. I think that's a pretty nifty idea, and I haven't really seen this done before on any previous snow speeders, so bravo to the team for being able to execute that. While we're at the bottom of the ship, I want to take a moment to appreciate something. Not a single exposed screw or screw hole, which is awesome. I mean, that just adds so much more authenticity to the ship, and just adding those extra screws is just so gaudy and cheap. So this line as a whole has really minimized the amount of screws that they do have to use, so I'm just grateful for that. Now, I have the landing gear up, so if I zoom in, you can see there's some sculpting, some exposed wires, and just some other details here on the peg itself. So, very happy about that. I mean, they didn't skimp out there, and just to fold the landing gear in is easy. Just push it into the ship, and it lies nice and flush. And before we wrap up, here's a quick comparison of some of our other ships that have been released in this line, standing next to our snow speeder. Alright, that wraps up this review and unboxing of the new Series 2 Micro Galaxy Squadron Snow Speeder. The price point for this should be about $12.99. They should be hitting Target stores as well as Walmart. They've been popping in and out of stock on Amazon. I will have the links in my description. I think this is a great ship to add to your collection, especially if you're an Empire Strikes Back fan. It does come with 2 human figures in this Starfighter class, which I think is a big bonus. They did a great job packing a lot of features in this small scale of a ship. One of the highlights being the tow cable. Obviously, we wish this was long enough to wrap around an AT-AT, but we know that's probably not feasible considering how small of a scale this ship is. But I'm just happy they included a tow cable as it is, since I can't really recall seeing a previously released snowspeeder having one. I don't really have too much to say to add to this ship. I mean, I think they maximized it as much as they could. So overall, I'm really happy with it, and I think you would be too. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, where I do toy photography, toy videos, toy hunts, toy deals, and all things toy related. Link in the description below. I post heavily on my stories when new things drop, so don't miss out on that. Be sure to like and subscribe. It's free, and we will see y'all, hopefully not on Hoth, in the next video.